Are certainly in very interesting times. I think times that we will look back upon and say this was a historic event. Unfortunately, historic events are not always glorious, um, and we are certainly, working through, quite a humanitarian challenge. And in these times, sometimes we are searching for answers and searching for opportunities. Um, and the our history, our Vedic history, teaches us one very powerful lesson throughout the history of time. That in the midst of all crises, um, one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has found uh, clarity, peace, and perseverance, and ultimately success through those challenges. And it's just not once or twice or thrice, but we see it repeatedly over and over and over again. And today, in the midst of this COVID-19 virus that we are all fighting, this is certainly the ultimate path to success. And certainly, we must be very conscious and mindful of some of the precautions that we must take to protect the body. The body is a very important vehicle in the process of rendering service to the Supreme Lord, and so we certainly, should really abide by and follow, the guidelines that are being, shown to us by the CDC and the WHO and other authorities. Just as we take information from authorities who have our interest at heart. Certainly the guidelines that we're getting here are important to follow, and I don't want to in any way minimize those in any way, but certainly want to speak of them in the context of the greater opportunity. And so, we've certainly, looked to, again, modify even this program to allow for us to gather here, but also, pay attention to the needs on the bodily platform and protecting ourselves from the exposure to this virus. So, but these crises that face us, that we know from our very basic philosophy that this is the nature of the material world. In the material world, there are four difficulties, and they are problems because they apply to all. And those are birth, death, old age, and disease. And certainly we are in the midst of, a new disease. But unfortunately, even with conquering this coronavirus, which it will, in time this will pass, and in time with good precautions and good adherence to the recommendations, we will hopefully very quickly overcome this challenge. But unfortunately, will this solve disease? Can we have faith that there will not be another such disease to come forward? Well, we know by fact that it will indeed happen. And so what is the solution that we can make to become free from these difficulties? And that brings us to this, to the process of Krishna consciousness, whereby which one who follows the instructions of the Supreme Lord has the opportunity to become eternally free, not just temporarily, from these different difficulties. And that has a long-term solution, right? Okay, I can practice spiritual life and ultimately become free from the difficulties. But in the midst of crisis, we see great devotees, our Mahajans. They follow a certain process to also become fearless. And we may be encountering an aspect of fear, but actually by the practice of Krishna consciousness, we can approach this situation with great care and precaution, but also with great confidence and fearlessness. So we want to do both. Approach the situation with certainly care and precaution, but also approach it with confidence and fearlessness. Don't mistake fearlessness and confidence with, minimizing the importance of these precautions. So we want to carry both of them. But let us not carry these precautions and these things full of fear. Instead, we can become fearless. And who can we look to for such, guidance and such examples? And our very dear Prahlad Maharaj is such a wonderful example. A 5-year-old boy, normally 5 years old boys are full of joy and also easily put into fear, right? It doesn't take much. Just say boo, and a 5-year-old boy will cry or run. It doesn't take much. Right? That is the cute and innocent nature of 5-year-old boys. Well, Prahlad Maharaj was no ordinary 5-year-old boy. He, having heard the entire Srimad Bhagavatam and been instructed while he was in the womb of his mother, Kayadu, by the great sage Narada Muni, appeared in this world as a pure devotee, a full self-realized soul. And from his very early age, he understood how to experience real happiness, and that was in Krishna consciousness. So when his father, Hiranyakashipu, who was an extraordinary demon, how extraordinary he was? He had rule of the entire universe. All the planetary systems were under his control. And everybody was serving him, not out of love, but out of fear. In Srimad Bhagavatam, we see his reign of terror was so fearsome that even the fields, Mother Earth, was providing crop without even being cultivated because she was fearful of the retribution of Hiranyakashipu. The rivers were flowing jewels out of fear of retribution from Hiranyakashipu. If he just raised his eyebrow, people would scatter in fear. This was the reign of terror. But with his own son, Prahlad Maharaj, when Prahlad Maharaj was not abiding by his desire to train him in his own gruesome ways, and Prahlad Maharaj remained fixed in his Krishna consciousness, Prahlad Maharaj became unmoved and undaunting and undeterred in his process. And Hiranyakashipu became very mad. He had everybody under his control, but his 5-year-old son. And so he enacted a reign of terror that in today's terms we would consider the most horrific of terrorist activities. He threw his son from a cliff. He put him in the midst of mad elephants trying to trample him. He threw him into a pit of venomous snakes. He put him into the middle of a ferocious fire. All these very extreme measures. Yet, what was the mood and condition of Prahlad Maharaj? Full of bliss and peace. He had no fear. And what was the source of his fearlessness? Was it his own prowess, his own ability to fight those snakes or to, withstand the heat? No. It was his meditation and chanting of the holy names. He remained fixed in this process of devotional service. And by that, he obtained a great power and potency to be fearless in the midst of extraordinary calamities. So, from this example, which is given in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is one of the most extensive pastimes presented in Srimad Bhagavatam to give us some indication of its importance. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he would read Srimad Bhagavatam, he would read this pastime repeatedly over and over and over again They would recite this seventh canto, the first part of the seventh canto, over and over and over again. So we see it is very instructive for us. And so by following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, we can see that yes, in the midst of some calamities, some difficulties, it is the process of devotional service that will give us confidence, strength, fearlessness to persevere and to overcome. Again, we still must pay attention to some of the precautions and things that we must do, but at the end of the day, we can take great comfort and shelter in Krishna telling us, Ma Suchaha, do not fear. He says this in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharmam parityaja, mamekam sharanam braja, aham tam sarva papebhyo, moksha yishmama suchaha. He says that you just surrender unto me. Abandon everything else. I will deliver you from all your reactions, all sinful reactions. And then he gives the assurance, because we may have some doubt. And what does he say? Ma suchaha. Do not fear. So this process is very powerful. And we see in even recent times, when there were various difficulties in the times of Srila Prabhupada, even when there were attacks, what did the devotees do? They took to the shelter of the holy names, took to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and he provided great protection. Why Srila Prabhupada enacted the very important, process of chanting the Nrsimhadev prayers in the temple as a means to seek shelter. But protection for what? Not just our body, but our bhakti, our spiritual progress. Because that is our real asset, our eternal asset. As we've been studying in this chapter 2, we have said over and over again, we are not this body, we are spirit soul. And actually, this difficulty is a great opportunity for us. In any difficulty, a strong and capable person thinks, okay, what can I get out of this? Of course, I'm going to address the issue at hand, but also, what can I get out of it? How can I better myself through this difficulty? Well, this is a great opportunity for us to remember, I'm not this body. Yes, all of this emotion and consciousness that we have absorbed in this current situation, let us remember, it is on the bodily platform. And that is not me. If my car was so sick, would I have the same type of emotion? Probably not. So we can use this as an opportunity to say, okay, yes, I'm going to take care of the bodily precautions. They are important. But I'm not going to allow my consciousness to come down to this platform and become upended. Instead, I can remain very peaceful and happy in the midst of my relationship with the Supreme Lord, because I am spirit soul. And this is a great opportunity for us to double down on our opportunity to remember, I am spirit soul, I am not this body. Of course, we know easier said than done, but this is a great chance for us. And let us take to the shelter of the holy names. It is our ultimate Savior. And have faith that Krishna repeatedly says in the Bhagavad Gita that I am your protector. Right? He gives this peace formula at the end of the 5th chapter. He says, Bhoktarab yagnatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram surdam sarva bhutanam. This is one of the sweetest lines in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Surdam sarva bhutanam. Which means, Krishna says, I am your ever well-wisher. Krishna is always our well-wisher. And he says, Yakpa mam shantim richiti. One who knows this attains peace. This is the 29th verse of the 5th chapter, if anyone would like to read that at a later time. But understand, Krishna is our ever well-wisher. So yes, this difficulty is there. It is due to the actions. It is due to the laws of karma. Based on the activities, there will be reactions. There is no avoiding that. But we can protect ourselves not only through good, precautions, but ultimately through the shelter of the Supreme Lord. Okay? So this is an opportunity for us. And as we increase our chanting and our reading and the spiritual energy around us, it has the proven ability to conquer this. And in time, this will also pass. So let us have confidence and become fearless while also paying appropriate attention to the precautions that are being, guided to us. And in this way, we will be able to continue very nicely and develop, following in the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada and the great devotees, and of course, Arjuna, as we've been discussing, was in this mood of distress, fearful, not sure what to do. And what did he do to cure his situation? He turned to his dear friend, Krishna.